This video is brought to you by Eaton. Eaton is a one-stop shop for implementing reliable and innovative EV charging infrastructure at your site. Across all applications, Eaton's EV charging infrastructure, hardware and software gives you the scalability, flexibility, and intelligence you need to charge today and scale up tomorrow. Learn more at eaton.com/EVCI. This video is also brought to you by Iona, North America's premier charging network. With unmatched commitment to elevating the customer experience, Iona is opening America's roads to all EVs, giving drivers the coverage they need, the reliability they deserve, and the amenities they crave.
Hello and welcome back to Out of Spec Reviews. I have with me the Model Y. I'm still going to call it the Juniper, but the new Model Y, the brand new one, fully refreshed, and it's the dual motor all-wheel drive launch edition. It's the only thing they have out right now. We've already done videos on walking around, so we're just going to do a really quick drive video today. We're here at Tesla in Park Meadows, Lone Tree, south of Denver, Colorado. We literally have 15 minutes with the car, so we are going to fly through this and just bring whatever driving impressions we can on a quick jaunt onto the highway. We're going to talk about the sound system, talk about the stocks, or the one stock, which I actually kind of hate. And this is actually the first look at the Helix 2.0 wheels. So we're actually gonna see how this car feels on the 20-inch, the bigger boys, not the performance wheels. We don't know what those are gonna look like yet, but this is the most performance-y variant you can get of the Model Y. It's actually the only variant. Let's jump in and drive.
I want to say a huge thank you to Climate Exchange for sponsoring this Out of Spec video. Guys, they are running their 9th EV giveaway raffle. And of course, we've been telling you about it over the last few months. We have entered the last month of the raffle. On February 26th, it is the last day where they are going to be selling tickets. At February 28th, they will be doing the drawing, which means you have to go in and get your tickets now. What will you get if you win? Well, if you win, they are giving away $120,000 worth of EV. That means you can choose a Rivian, a Cybertruck, a Model S Plaid, the list goes on. And they are of course including all taxes and fees for the winning prize. There's also a second and third place winner. The second place winner will get $12,500 towards whatever they want, really, cash prize, and $7,500 for the third place winner. For those of you who don't know, Climate Exchange is a non-profit helping states pass laws to fight climate change. They've sold well over half of the 5,000 tickets available, so don't miss out. So again, thank you to Climate Exchange for sponsoring this video. All you have to do is head to carbonraffle.org/outofspec.
All right, so now we're inside. They turned on max heating. We're going to turn this down a little bit. Same screen, same steer, like everything feels very, very familiar, except they moved some things around on the steering wheel because Highland Model 3, of course, has no stock. They've now added a stock, which is kind of interesting. So you know, the window washer fluid on the bottom left over here. We've already shown all this, but it's going to be weird for me to get used to this. But now I can use my front camera and swipe to drive, and I can see exactly where I'm going. This is sweet. Before I do this,
are you blind?
I know, yeah. Let me actually set everything so how I would usually have it. So I'm going to interject this video with a couple additional clips because we were so tight on time. We didn't even have time to process all of our thoughts and feelings towards this new Model Y. So I will add them sporadically through the video as I come up to the sections where we're hopefully discussing them. I just set my seating position. The seating position does seem really good in the Model Y. Obviously a bit higher than the Highland Model 3, but feels comparable to the outgoing Model Y. I know there was slight adjustments and improvements to like the cushion and just the overall seating position in general. Kyle's talked about that extensively in his first Model Y walk around video, so that's why I'm not focusing on a walk around video in this video itself. That video is linked below if you want to see just a really in-depth trunk and frunk and software and everything like that. This is more focused on driving, but for driving, the driving position was really fantastic. I do prefer slightly the Highland Model 3, just Model 3 in general, slightly lower, slightly leaned back. I guess you could say sportier, even though it is just a compact sedan. But if you liked the outgoing Model Y, this is the same, if not better. Immediately, I mean, I drove here in my Highland Model 3. Timon drove here in his Old
legacy. Hey, it's a performance though.
Very legacy Model 3. And immediately it already feels so much quieter and more refined.
Yeah, this is way quieter than mine.
But
that's to be expected.
An old Model Y, yeah. So, dynamics, we got sport, standard, deceleration, traction control mode. Just gonna keep that normal. Steering weight, I'm gonna try light out first. Checking everything else. Autopilot FSD is on this, so we will just use that. Turn off brake confirm. We don't need that. And lights, someone turned off ambient lighting. On. There we go.
Oh, now wow, what a vibe.
Now we're talking. We're doing full, we'll just do red to match the exterior. Okay, onwards. Wow, it already feels faster than my car. And we have literally like 15 minutes, which is crazy. So we're gonna not have much time to do much of anything, but we'll do
a
what we can.
A nice little launch right here.
Immediately, dude, the suspension tuning is just...
I've not been in a Model Y since it came out, so I don't have a lot of input here, but it's very quiet in here.
It is supple. I don't really know what else to say. So we are on the Helix 2.0 wheels, which are the bigger wheels, less tire sidewall, which means we are going to feel a bit more of the undulations in the road, but also a bit more planted around the corners here. See, I already used the turn signal, the old
It is
turn
kind of
signal.
weird that there's only one stock.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, I'll talk about that in the drive, but I think that my hot take is they added back in the wrong stock. I actually prefer the turn signals on the steering wheel itself. Now, the turn signal stock has a very short throw, so it is actually easy to use them. I mean, if anyone's driven Lucid, or actually just most other cars in general, it's annoying to have a really long throw, but also reach far away. That we spent we spent so much time with the Lucid, and that was one of my constant complaints. This is actually a very nice soft tap, and it's very easy to access, so I'm okay with that. But pulling out here, we can jump right on the highway.
Floor it, yeah. I mean, that feels good.
Plenty good acceleration.
Feels faster than your car.
Yes. More models are to follow. We, of course, will have the Model Y rear-wheel drive, Model Y all-wheel drive without acceleration boost, and we'll have the performance variant join the ranks eventually. But right now, just having the launch edition. Performance boost is standard, basically a mandatory upgrade at this point. And
it's nice, though.
This is, oh man, yeah. So
like, it's quicker than what most people would need. I mean, we're also at 77% state of charge, but
yeah, which is claiming 233 miles of range. So it's not going to be quite the range monster of my car, but it's honestly going to have plenty.
I mean, this is also way more of a blob compared to your car design too. No offense, but offense.
Nope, yeah, that makes sense. So,
I mean, it feels good. Even hitting the bumps, it doesn't, like, you can feel them, but there's nothing that's like jolting about it.
Yeah, so basically with NVH, what they really have done is add acoustically laminated glass everywhere, which helps extremely with any sort of noise, and also the suspension tuning. So the earlier Model Ys had a really bad noise from the back. Basically, the suspension, the rear suspension going over bumps, it would have like a kind of a booming effect. That is really honestly gone. They've retweaked the suspension, both to feel just better as a whole. Like, this feels, I don't know what to compare it to, but it's like,
it feels like
nicer and almost German in like some of the German cars that I've driven, the SUVs that feel like it's not gonna like waft and tip over if you go around a corner too far. But now that this Venza's gotten out of our way, we can
yeah, no, it's quick, even at a 70-mile-an-hour pole or whatever that was.
Yeah, so basically your passing power on the highway is fantastic. Now, the speed and power is not the big thing here. Like, obviously, if you want more power, you can get the older Model Y Performance, which is still on sale, and actually cheaper than this. That's a lot of people's issue with the launch edition, is it is a lot of bang for buck, because you can pick whatever you want, although the white interior that we're sitting in now is sold out, so you can't
I don't know if they did that if it's actually truly sold out and they don't have the material for it, or they're just like want to limit sales and just
limit launch edition, basically.
Yeah.
They had a set number of launch edition that they were going to sell, which makes me think that they're going to have the other variants available sooner than we think. I'm not surprised to see performance maybe rolling out later than this, than everything else. But
yeah, I would say performance is probably close to the end of 2025.
yeah, that's entirely possible. But I think rear-wheel drive and all-wheel drive will sell really quite well. And I've really enjoyed my rear-wheel drive. I will say the steering is, I have it in the lightest setting. It still is noticeably heavier than my car because mine has the rear-wheel drive, so no front motor at the front. But now that we're at a stop, I'm going to, let's do heavy, standard steering. Wow, definitely. Who would use heavy?
Maybe if you're like in a canyon. But who really takes a Model Y in the canyon?
Right. But
They just sit in the left lane.
You could, though. You could take this to the canyon. And honestly, yeah, I would just sit on FSD all day.
Like we do now.
Let's see where this goes. I'm going to navigate back to Tesla. And a huge shout out to Tesla at Lone Tree for getting us access to this as fast as possible. Tesla Park Meadows, I guess I should say. And
now
yeah.
turn left onto East Lincoln
Oh,
Avenue.
we're going to turn that off. Settings.
There we go.
Wow, why is that hidden? That should just be like right here when you tap something. We have our weather. We have all the normal stuff with the new updates. So I'm not really going to cover software in this.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same as every other Tesla on the market.
But just improving all the driving feel. And I really do like all the fine materials in here. The difference in feel, like my car is very simplified. And actually my complaint with the white interior of the new Model 3 is the door card was just a huge expanse of this white pseudo like leather stuff. They've really broken it up nicely with this, and I'm a huge fan of all the materials. Even the suede dash, that was kind of surprising. I didn't expect that with the white Model Y interior.
Yeah, it's nice. I mean, that's my complaint on my car. I have wide mirrors on mine.
Yeah.
And when I look and the sun's on the white, I can't see out of my mirror.
Yeah, exactly. But I will say, driving, if you look behind you, Timon, rear visibility is pretty slim. The rear window is very, very narrow, which is okay, I guess.
Yeah, most people are on FSD, right? So what does it matter?
Yeah, just take a nap. But the side mirrors are actually noticeably bigger than the Model 3. Like I feel like I have a huge chunk of. It's like looking at a 16:9 display and then switching to like a 4:3 display. You just have a bit more height, which is nice. I do wish they were a bit more concave or convex. Convex.
Convex is wide, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A bit more of a wider mirror would be nice. But I can always pull up the cameras and see the rear camera right there at all times while you're driving. I really hate it when the cars like prevent you from doing that. And then we can see the front camera in case you wanted to for some reason. This guy's trying to get in and the car can't tell his turn signal's on because his glass is all broken.
But I thought FSD was better than a human driver.
We're getting there. Not quite there yet. But oh my gosh, I'm just not used to this much power. You know, my rear-wheel drive Model 3 lifestyle is a bit
A motor.
But just the previous Model Y, I've driven a lot. I've done road trips in it, and it is totally fine. But like at times, I feel like on harsh roads, on noisy roads, it would just get kind of fatiguing. And I could easily see driving this forever. Just on a road trip across the country. Maybe we'll do another I-90 surge. And we'll do like I-70 or something different. Is it this one?
Yep.
I went for the
Jersey slide.
I went for the I flashed the person in front of me because I went for the upper left button, which on the Model 3 is the turn signal. On here, it's the high beams.
I do kind of like that they added the stock back, but I don't know if I wish you could code or pick what you want the stock to do or the buttons to do, not that it's automatic for you.
Right. I just wish all of this was completely customizable. So it's going to be really challenging for the two-car household that has the new Model Y and the new Model 3 because driving them is completely different because of the wheel and the buttons.
Or you just use...
Man. Brake pedal is actually not super confidence inspiring. Like it's not as like ready as I thought it would be. Like I really had to push hard on it to have the appropriate braking force. So this new Model Y does have brake-by-wire, which I didn't really look at too much in this video, but it is something to note because the tuning on that can be challenging for many cars. It did feel like it was a bit stiff, stiffer than I maybe would have liked, but to be fair, I didn't have time to play with it intensely in all different scenarios, in all different modes. But it was interesting to drive with that and also have, the brake pedal not actually moving itself when it's on autopilot, for example. So that is something we want to do more testing with and, of course, experiment with how it handles on aggressive driving mountain roads and just living with it overall. I'm really excited to live with this car more often. But anyways, the brake and accelerator tuning do seem extremely good. And Tesla, of course, has that nailed pretty much across all their models. Their one-pedal drive situation is phenomenal. A lot of cars do one-pedal driving now, but they do have some of the best calibration. Not always the strongest regen. Like sometimes I'm left wanting more regen from certain Teslas, but I do feel like this one, especially the dual motor variant, had plenty of regen, and I'm more than happy with whatever it had to offer. I'm curious if the rear wheel drive will feel vastly different. I'm curious if it'll feel more light and nimble like the rear wheel drive Highland versus the all wheel drive Highland. And with the NVH improvements, I already mentioned the acoustically laminated glass. I didn't mention the roof, which is now a silver coated roof, similar to what we've seen in the Cybertruck, that has made it much more resistant to heat. Not really a big issue today because it's been 20 degrees Fahrenheit, actually mostly colder than that this morning especially. So if anything, I wanted more heat in the cabin, but it felt completely quiet and isolated, and the climate control didn't even seem like it was working that hard. Once it was heated up, I didn't have to constantly push and push to keep the cabin warm, which was actually a challenge in the outgoing Model Y. I had done road trips with that in brisk winter conditions, and it felt like the cabin really was struggling to keep up with the temperature at times, both in the super intense heat, but also in the colder temperatures. So it is nice to have it not only more isolated from the outside noise, but also more isolated from actual elements like extreme heat or extreme cold. Interestingly though, Tesla did say the glass roof now prevents 7 times more heat from entering, so you don't need shades. Shades are a thing of the past. But now I've seen Tesla sharing on their Twitter a new sunshade accessory or something like that. So that's kind of interesting. Got to dig into that more, and I definitely want to try it. Of course, a lot of aftermarket accessories exist for that. Notably, I have a sunshade for my Model 3. I haven't installed it yet because it's not really warm outside yet. It's freezing cold. But once summer hits, I'm excited to install that sunshade. But anyways, I digress. Model Y. I wonder what the odometer, we could look at their lifetime stats maybe and see. Although they might reset it, but 414 watt-hours per mile over 128 miles, that is the entire lifetime. So that's a little over 2 miles per kilowatt hour. Although I'm wondering if a lot of people have just been hooning this. That could make sense.
Yeah, I feel like it's a lot of just floor any chance they can get.
So speaking of flooring it, try to get up to this light up here.
And launch this sucker.
And see how it does. Yeah, the brake pedal definitely feels way different than the Model 3 Highland. So just from a stop, we'll see if we get the green light. But it's a pretty long green light on the other direction. And of course, I'm hoping to try the sound system in just a second here whenever we can get stopped and something connected, because that's apparently another huge thing that is very nice.
Right, and I know road noise and suspension was a big thing, how bad it was on the last Model Y.
Very fast.
Yeah, very quick. I wouldn't say fast, quick.
Quick, off the line. Yeah, it's really going to run out of steam, I think, higher
Yeah,
up.
I think as soon as you hit 70, it's just going to hit a brick wall.
Yeah.
But for suspension-wise, it feels phenomenal.
Yeah.
For it being a Model Y, this is night and day difference.
And just how responsive the steering is. I actually would love to take this on a canyon road. As soon as we can get one for longer than 15 minutes, I'm really excited to try that out. Okay, trying out the music. 16 speakers plus a sub. I don't know the wattage of the system, but it should be pretty substantial. Where's this EQ timing? Okay.
Well, let's just do immersive sound.
High. Do a bit of a smile curve here. It's what most people do. Boost the sub.
Crank it.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, this solves kind of one of my issues with the Highland Model 3. Like Andreas's car, he's a dual motor all-wheel drive. The performance, they both have the premium sound system, which has, I forget the number of speakers, but essentially two kind of subs that are actually in the I'm gonna go this way. They're in the parcel shelf of the rear of the car, which actually creates, in my opinion, too much boominess. Then you have my car, which has not enough speakers.
It doesn't have a sub, right?
No sub in my car, which some volume levels actually sounds great. You can still get a good amount of bass with the existing speakers, but it really could have used, just a bit more bass. So this is probably up there with one of my new favorite sound systems. I mean, Tesla notably does all of their own.
That says a lot for a big audio guy.
Tesla does all their own sound tuning, so like I like a lot of their systems, and I think they actually use Bang & Olufsen components. I'm not quite entirely sure on that, but getting the motor whine is really nice. The turn signal, by the way, the way it cancels, or like you cancel it, I really do like how it's like you put it up and then you put it down. That cancels it instead of going straight to the left side.
Yeah, that is super nice.
Which is different than how
But can you cancel it going, if you could press it twice the same direction?
Yep. So I think they really did the turn signal stock correctly, better than most cars in most places, in my experience. But I still, maybe it is a hot take, but I genuinely think I prefer it on the steering wheel. But I prefer shifting on the stock. So I wish, like you said in the earlier part, I wish you could have just said what you want the stock to do, what the buttons to do. Of course, you can do things like sexy buttons and get
add another stock if you wanted to.
Yeah, you can do a lot more with that. But honestly, that was our really fast, quick drive in the new Model Y. We'll give final thoughts in a second here. We just have to give the car back, so we couldn't even film the intro with the car or the outro with the car. And here I am, like, trying to use a stock. It's really weird only having one stock. That's got to be the biggest, weirdest thing. But I guess I could let you out before I back in.
We'll let FSD park. Let's see how well it does in this tight spot.
Good luck with the Cybertruck.
Yeah.
All right, so that was a very, very, very quick drive. I was hoping we'd get like 30 minutes, but it actually ended up being 20 because they tried to set my phone up as the key and actually couldn't do it because the email sign up for the drive was different from the app. It's just a whole convoluted process, but they're trying to streamline that. They're trying to actually get people to use their app on these test drives to have the full experience, which I think is a good idea because Tesla does have one of the best app experiences. It just didn't really work out in our favor today. So we only had a few minutes. Sorry for the brevity of this video, but it was fun to check it out. I am actually kind of floored, which is why I was partially speechless during that entire drive, because I thought the old Model Y was fine. I recommend it to a lot of people, but this one takes everything and just takes it away. I mean, it's basically the new Model 3 all over again. Like, we were so floored with the Highland, and now I'm really thrilled to see this take that perspective from the Model Y and make it even easier to recommend than ever. Right, so that is the very, very quick first drive of the new Model Y. Glad we could bring the sound system test in there, just sneaking that in, because I think sound system is really important to test, especially on the road while you're driving. I had heard and even maybe seen some reports of like active noise cancellation. I've even seen stuff on Tesla's website, but I couldn't find that anywhere in the settings. So I couldn't really test that if it was indeed a thing, or maybe it's rolling out eventually. I know there are some things they're trying to roll out over updates in the future. So maybe that was something that hasn't come to the new Model Y as of this software variation, but it may come in the future. Either way, this thing drove incredibly well. Like the tuning, everything, it just felt like, I know it's a refresh, but it felt like what I wish first Model Y was. It just was smooth and supple and well planted, and even for not having air suspension, like this is one of those cars where it rides so well without air. Like you're like, why would we even need air suspension? It's not really necessary. It's just another thing that can break, I guess. So a car like this and the new Highland Model 3 feels very comparable. Interestingly, it felt even a bit more quiet and isolated than the Highland Model 3. I did drive them back to back, so I feel like I can accurately comment on that. And this was even on the Helix wheels, which are the bigger 20-inch. So I'm really intrigued to drive the new Model Y on the Aero wheels. The new gen Aero wheels I think look pretty good. I don't always say that about Aero wheels, but I like the looks. Excited to try range testing both variants, of course, because the Helix wheels do have a bit of an impact on range negatively, but I think for most people you're still going to get plenty of range, and they look pretty good. But I don't know if I would keep either stock wheel. I'm a fan of a lot of aftermarket wheels. Of course, I run Martian wheels on my Model 3, and we have them on most of our cars around here out of spec. But either way, Tesla's factory wheels are definitely not the worst. But either way, the NVH is really impressive. But the driving, like speed and power, again, not really changed from the outgoing model. This one having acceleration boost as standard means I couldn't really test out what it would be like to have just the normal amount of power. I couldn't test out the rear-wheel drive variant, but I feel like even the rear-wheel drive ones are totally fine. You know, I drove the LFP Highland shortly before I drove the rear-wheel drive modern, newer, the non-LFP Highland, and the performance boost of the newer rear-wheel drive was noticeable. So that makes me not even worry about Model Y's rear-wheel drive variant whenever that does come out. Curious when the timing of everything will happen, but we do know people are getting timelines for their orders already, so they may be rolling out sooner than we even expected. So if you have an order for a Model Y and you have a due date, curious, you can let us know down below. Maybe you're even local and we can maybe check it out. But I think our friend Brandon over at Tesla Flex, he also did a video driving this one, and he should have his very soon. So we might see some testing on that very soon, seeing how the range and 10% challenge and all that stuff goes. I just think it's a really compelling car. Again, I am more of a sedan guy, which is interesting because I actually don't usually care about sedans, but just Model 3 versus Model Y, I prefer the driving position of the Model 3. But I do think the Model Y is like technically just a better car. Having the hatchback capability, which I wish the Model 3 had a lift back like the Model S does. Having the hatchback capability, the ample storage space, the power folding and raising second row is really a throwdown feature. And the fact that it integrates so smoothly with the front seats is really nice. Having ventilated seats is a must-have. Like, a lot of people are wondering, is it worth buying the new Model Y over the old one? After this drive, I do think yes. Is it worth $60,000? That may be something you have to consider waiting. But I don't think you'll be waiting that long. It's the best-selling car in the world. So at least it has been. Maybe it's been overtaken by something else at this point. But for a while, it was best-selling car in the world. I do expect sales to continue to be really good. And I expect them to roll out every variant as fast as possible because they know it's going to sell well. So I do think they're going to come out with a better price point option for you if you think the $60,000 is a bit much. I do think that's a bit much. You could save a lot of money by getting the older Model Y, and if all you need is the electric capability and the charging infrastructure and the software, and I mean, it's still a good car. Like, that was easy to recommend, but now it's easier than ever. I do wish the rear seats were ventilated. I think that could have been a cool, unique throwdown mic drop feature. I wish the frunk was power operated. Just a few things that could have been better, but like sound system, better than Highland. Of course, you can fit more stuff than the Highland. The roof panel being the silver plated glass or whatever they call it, that's a bit better than the Highland. Even the tires are apparently an improved, like their best rolling resistance tires yet. So still need to maybe test some things, maybe have one of these versus a Highland Model 3 back to back, get the Highland versus Juniper situation. And yeah, lots more to get into with the new Model Y. Very excited to see this launch roll out. It does look better than I thought in person. It drives better than I could have ever imagined. I mean, I imagined it would drive really well, so maybe it drives as I imagined it and hoped it would. Curious if you guys have any more questions, thoughts. I do apologize for the insane brevity of this video. Like I said, it was so rushed, but I've been able to gather my thoughts and bring them here to you at the end. So thank you for sticking around. Let us know your questions down below if you have one on order down below, and we'll see you guys in another video very soon. Peace.